All right, let's talk about one of the most critical and, honestly, one of the most messed up parts of any solar installation, grounding. This is a topic where tiny mistakes can have absolutely huge consequences, so we're going to break down exactly what you need to get right.
And I'm not being dramatic here. The stakes are as high as they get. A bad groundie isn't just some small technical error, it's a legitimate disaster waiting to happen. It can turn your amazing investment in energy independence into a really serious hazard.
So you gotta ask, right? If it's this important, why are so many people messing it up? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The common advice you hear floating around out there is just dangerously oversimplified, and that's what leads people to make these catastrophic mistakes. Okay, so let's just dive right into the core problem. This single misunderstanding, it's the root of pretty much every grounding error you'll ever see. I bet you've heard it a million times, right? Oh, just run a wire from everything to a metal rod you pound into the dirt. And look, while that's part of the puzzle, it's a dangerously incomplete picture. It leaves out all the critical details that are actually going to keep you safe.
So here it is. This is probably the most important thing you're going to hear today. Grounding isn't just one thing. It's actually three totally separate jobs happening at the same time: equipment grounding, system grounding, and bonding. If you get these confused or you miss one, your system is just not safe, period.
First up, we've got equipment grounding. This is the one that most people are familiar with. It's all about connecting the metal parts that shouldn't be live with electricity, your panel frames, the mounting rails, the inverter's metal case, and giving them a path to the earth. Its whole purpose, its only job, is to protect you from getting shocked if a hot wire accidentally touches any of that metal. Next is system grounding. Okay, this one's a bit more technical, so hang with me. With this, we are deliberately connecting one of the wires that's supposed to carry current, like a neutral wire or sometimes a DC negative, to the earth. Why would we do that? Well, it creates a solid, stable reference point, kind of like an anchor for your system's voltage, which keeps everything behaving predictably. And finally, there's bonding. And listen up, because this is the key difference people miss. Bonding has nothing to do with the earth. Nope. It's about connecting all the metal bits and pieces to each other. Think of it like making sure every piece of metal in your system is holding hands so they're all at the exact same electrical level. This is absolutely critical for preventing shocks and making sure your breakers actually work when you need them to.
Okay, so that's the theory. A little dry, I know. But now let's make it real. How do we actually apply this stuff to the real-world's components in your solar setup?
So it all starts up on your roof. You have to bond every single panel frame together, usually with special grounding clips or lugs, so they become one giant interconnected metal structure. Then, from that bonded array, you run one continuous ground wire all the way down to your inverter, connecting it right to the chassis ground terminal. The whole goal here is simple: create one single unified path to ground for every piece of equipment.
Okay, I need you to lean in for this one. I cannot possibly stress this enough. When it comes to system grounding, your inverter's manual is not a suggestion, it is the law, the absolute Bible. See, some inverters already connect the neutral to ground inside the unit. If you don't know that and you do it again outside, you create something called a ground loop, which is a really dangerous unintended circuit that can mess with your safety devices or even fry your equipment. So please, never, ever assume. Read the manual. Now, let's talk about batteries. Because frankly, this is where the biggest, scariest, and most expensive mistakes happen. You really need to know that a lot of modern battery systems, especially the popular Life PO4 ones, are specifically designed to float. And all that means is that neither the positive nor the negative terminal should be connected to ground. So let me make this as clear as humanly possible. Unless that battery manual explicitly tells you to do it, you do not ground your battery terminals. Why? Because if you do, you could completely bypass the battery management system. That's the little computer brain that protects your thousands of dollars in batteries. Or even worse, you could create a direct short circuit. We're talking a massive fire risk that you just cannot afford to take.
So, we've got all our equipment bonded together, it's all connected to a ground wire, but all of that amazing safety work is totally useless if that wire doesn't have a really good connection to the earth itself. This is the final, crucial link in the whole safety chain.
So how does this actually save you? Let's paint a picture. Imagine a wire inside your system gets frayed and touches the metal frame of your solar panel. Uh-oh. Without a ground, that whole frame is now electrified, just waiting for someone to touch it. But with a proper ground, that dangerous electricity now has a super easy, low-resistance path to follow, like a wide-open freeway. It rushes down that ground wire, creating a massive surge of current that instantly trips your breaker and cuts the power. The ground wire gives that fault a safe place to go.
And it's also really important to get this straight. Grounding for electrical faults is not the same thing as lightning protection. They're two different animals. Your equipment ground is there to handle problems inside your system. A lightning strike, on the other hand, is this colossal external energy event that requires its own heavy-duty specialized system to even stand a chance of managing it.
So how do you know if your connection to the Earth is actually any good? Well, we measure its resistance, and the unit for that is ohms. The magic number you're shooting for is less than 5 ohms. The lower that number, the better the connection, and the faster and more reliably your breaker's going to trip when something goes wrong. Now, you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, I live where the soil is super dry and sandy, or maybe it's all rock. Well, those are terrible conductors of electricity, which means your standard ground rod might not be doing much at all. If that's your situation, you might have to drive that rod way deeper, or maybe install multiple rods that are all tied together. You might even need to look into more advanced stuff to get that resistance down. Whew, okay, I know that was a ton of information, so let's pull it all together and boil it down into a simple, final safety checklist that you can actually use to go and look at your own system. Here we go. Let's run through it. Just ask yourself these 5 questions. 1. Are all my metal components truly bonded together? 2. Do they all lead back to one single common ground point? 3. Is my inverter grounded exactly the way the manual says it should be? 4. Are my battery terminals floating just like they're supposed to be? And number 5, is my actual connection to the Earth super low resistance? If you can confidently say yes to all 5 of those, you're in great shape. Your system is safe, it's stable, and it's reliable. Look, understanding the theory behind all this is a fantastic first step, but the next step is actually putting it into practice. We've just covered the why of proper grounding. So the really critical question I have to leave you with is this: does the how on your own system actually measure up? Thanks for sticking with me.